Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back, Force here, and today we'll be checking out Mars War Logs. This is a cyberpunk RPG that takes place on, as you expect, Mars. The game was developed by Spiders, the company who also made Of Orcs and Men, and here in this video I'll be showing you some gameplay as well as giving you my initial thoughts and impressions on the game, and we'll be starting off with some dialogue, which this game is chock full of. And is pretty bad at times.
You sure your parents are gonna be okay with someone like me coming around? Even if I am bringing the prodigal son back.
There's no doubt about it. My parents are in the militia with the people. And wait till they know what you did for me.
Many things seem to have changed while we were away, and that includes the militia's popularity. We'll see. You were lucky enough to snag some clothes your size. That'll be more discreet than those prison uniforms. And I have the feeling this will prove useful around here.
Alright, so I'd like to set the stage for you guys, and I want to warn you, I'm going to start off by sort of giving some spoilers. Not too much detail, but I want to set the stage of the game. The reason I'm doing this, and even the reason that I'm stopping to talk to listen to dialogue, is because the story and the dialogue are a major part of this game. It's an RPG in the sense that it's a mix of role-playing or being immersed in this world and combat. It's not 100% focused on combat, although that's a big part of the game as well. So here's the general premise behind Mars War Logs. The story takes place on Mars after a great cataclysm sent the planet into major chaos, and water has become the most scarce resource. And so there's this major war being fought between two major water companies, Aurora and Abundance. Now in the main story you play as this guy right here. His name is Roy. His virtue name is Temperance. He's originally from Aurora, and he's a renegade technomancer who was taken as a prisoner of war. Now although you play as this character, the main narrative, the story, is actually told from this guy's perspective, Innocence Smith. He is a guy who was also from Aurora. He was taken as a young man and drafted into the war against Abundance for water, and he was taken as a prisoner of war, and that's how these two guys ended up together. Now I've played 3 hours of this game so far, and in those first 3 hours we basically broke out of the prisoner of war camp, and now we're just trying to go out into Mars and I guess make it on our own. That's sort of the premise so far. Now in doing so I've kind of pissed off a few people, and I've killed some people that I maybe shouldn't have, and that's sort of where the story is so far. So we're taking it from there. We just broke out of the prisoner of war camp, and we're now headed to, I guess, Innocence's hometown to meet up with his family and figure out what to do next. So that is the stage. Let's hop into the game as we check out Mars War Logs. Lots of dialogue.
Hey you! Papers!
Alright, so he is an Aurora Army Sergeant, and a big part of this game is how you respond to different situations is going to really determine the outcome. In fact, so much so that there are two completely separate main storylines depending on the decision that you make. Now, I'm going to be kind of a jerk because I'd like to show you guys some combat, so I'm going to say I don't like that tone of yours.
Do you think you could ask more politely? Like saying please or even hello while we're at it? No? Alright, then I got a good idea. Go fuck yourself.
What the? Get that scumbag and take him away to the office.
Alright, so now because we were rude, we've got to engage in combat, but that's fine because I'd like to show you the combat, which is probably one of the more interesting parts of this game. Now in combat there's a few things we can do. I've got a basic attack, I can also do a knockback which interrupts attacks, and I can do blocking. Now, beyond that, there is this little menu that I can pull up here, which allows me to command orders. I can tell my sidekick or my partner to do stuff, or I can cast some of my specialty abilities. Why don't I go ahead and cast this electric arc here on my target, which will electrocute him, allowing me to move up to him and do a little damage and then do that. Alright, so we got this guy right here, and I can also, let me just show you this. I'm going to pull that menu back up, and I can go orders, and I can tell him attack the nearest enemy, nearest ranged enemy, attack my target, or go into defensive stance. Why don't we just tell him to attack my target, although I guess he was already doing that anyways. And then we'll leave this, and I'll go forward to him, knock him back, and whenever you see that little slow-mo, it's because you're about to land a critical hit. At least that's what I believe is the case, based on my experience with it so far. Alright, so we were mean to those guards, and as a result, we ended up getting in a fight with them. Now, from what I understand, if I was nice to them, we might have gotten away without actually getting in combat. And it's sort of hard because I have only been playing through this game for 3 hours. I haven't completed it, and I haven't played through it 2 times as a result, obviously. But from what I've read up on the game and from what I've heard from the developer, the events that unfold as you play through are really dictated by the decisions that you make. Like I said, there's 2 potential main storylines and multiple endings to this game. I also understand that the main storyline here, depending on which one you go with, is going to be about 20 hours in length. So it's a fairly lengthy game, and once again, I've only put about 3 hours into it so far. Alright, so let's talk a little bit about the combat. You just saw me fight a little bit, but let me just sort of go over some of the basics. So I've got my basic attack once again. I can do my swinging like that. We can also do this little rolling to avoid combat. Plus there is the ability to block and parry, which you will parry if you block right before an incoming attack. I don't want to finish him off. You can kill people while they're down. Oh, that's the other thing. You don't... When you fight with people, they're basically knocked unconscious. They're not technically dead, but you can, if you want to be a jerk, you can finish them off like this. I can inject him with this serum, which he's going to... Well, it kills him. So those are sort of the basic combat mechanisms. You're also able to lock onto targets with middle mouse button and cycle through them. And then we have that menu that I brought up, and I can show you that once again here. I pull it up with Q. And we've got access to a whole bunch of abilities. You unlock them as you play through the game. You level up. There's a progression system. And you also just find various weapons. Like I've got the nail gun. And I can bind this to whatever I want. So I've got a few things over here that I could bind. Right now, I've got the nail gun to 1. I've got throw sand to 2. This is ability to blind someone temporarily. And then I've got this little homemade bomb and traps for 3 and 4. I'm going to switch that up, though. I'm going to put 3 as my electric arc there. And 4 as my shockwave. And then why don't we go with 5 for energy shield. That sounds good. And if I ever need to heal, I can just pull up this menu because we've got that health regeneration thing. So let's keep on going here before we take a look at any of the other systems. I'm going to go ahead and pull this up to just take a look at what is my current quest. I've got to go to Innocence's house. So that is my current quest. And then we can pull up the map to take a look at where that is. Looks like that's just right over there. Let's take this back alley to the left just to see if we come across anything on the way to head back to his house. Now I have to say,
my parents have a store in the neighborhood. When they see us show up, they're gonna flip out.
I have to say that the game's dialogue can be pretty terrible at times, and the voice acting a bit spotty. But for these first 3 hours, I've actually been pretty enthralled by the story. It's been something that sort of pulled me in, and I've been continuously wanting to see the next part of the story unfold. And again, I don't want to spoil too much of those first 3 hours, but we were both taken prisoner of war, and then we got thrown into this camp, and I saved him from basically getting molested by these other prisoners within the camp, and then he's just been my sidekick ever since that point. Although the main narrative, the main storyline in between chapters is told from his perspective, which sort of leads me to believe that maybe the main character that you play as here, Roy, he will eventually die or something, and the story will be continued through Innocence's point of view. Now, why does he have a ridiculous name? Well, I guess people from Aurora get these virtue names, and so that's sort of why they all have like temperance and innocence. And one guy who was my partner in one of the quests that I did, his name was Sobriety. It's just like, okay, that's kind of funny. All right, so let's go ahead and open this up. Every time you open up a door to another area, they give you this sort of little mini cutscene that you can actually just skip with right mouse button. All right, so here we go. We got some guards here. Time for some more combat. Let me go ahead and lock onto this guy right here, and I can switch through by scrolling with the mouse button. And we've got a bunch of guys here, so this should be pretty fun. Let me go ahead and put on my shield. There we go. There's an energy shield, and let's go ahead and, oops, that's the wrong one. Let's go ahead and do some of this. I'm going to throw some sand here. Try to get that in his eyes, although I'm not sure if that necessarily worked. That's a crit, and we want to avoid that. Watch out for his big attack there. Okay, so I'd like to show you some of the parrying and stuff, if at all possible. Although we got 3 guys on me here, so that might be problematic. Why don't I just focus on taking them out? I can also drop that targeting if I want to just sort of go into free mode, in which I can just target whoever I'm sort of going at here. So notice that slowdown. Every time I slow down, it responds with a hard hit. So that's what leads me to believe that that is the critical strike. And I know there's critical strikes in this game because it's part of the tech tree, sort of. you're able to increase your crit chance and all that. All right, so I'm pretty low here, so what I will be doing now is we're gonna bring my menu back up, and I'm going to grab a heal potion, which will give me a little heal over time. And this guy's bleeding because my weapon's got a bleed chance on it. And we should probably just throw down some spells. I've got all my mana nice and full here. So just electrocute these fools, which makes it easier. I can also do my nail gun. Shoot him with that there. We got a few more rounds. Actually, is that only one more bullet left? Oh, I'm not. Oh, 18, there we go. That just bound to my one, I'm sorry. Losing it here for a minute. All right, so now that we just got one guy, let me try to show you the parrying and stuff here. So as he comes up for an attack, I'm gonna block. And if I block at the last minute, we can go for a counterattack. There we go, just like that, perfect. And then if he's in the blocking mode, I can hit F to sort of punch him back a little bit and stagger him. So I have to say, the combat is pretty in depth. It's pretty intense, and especially as you work through and you unlock the various spells and abilities, it really makes for a unique experience for combination attacks and such. So I'm sure you'll have noticed me so far as we've been going throughout here. I've been looting corpses and looting boxes and stuff and scavenging. This is all part of the crafting system. You essentially get all these materials you find throughout the world, be it off of someone's body or just from the environment itself. And then we can pull things up here, and you go into right over here. So there's a few things we can do. We've got these various weapons. So right now I've got 2 weapons in my inventory. The mole bone that I have is the best one. And then there's modification slots on those as well. So I can click that up and we can add a tip and a handle. Now I currently have the mole bone, which gives me these benefits, and there's other things that I could get as well. You can see there's an entire list basically of things, and you're gonna see how that will alter your weapon right up here. And the one that I have is the one that I'm sticking with, and it's probably gonna be the same case here for this handle. But yeah, a whole bunch of different options. Physical damage reduction. We've got physical damage plus and then physical damage reduction. The one that I have, oh, you know what, this is actually better because this also gives damage reduction. So why don't we go ahead and do this? I will upgrade this here, which will replace our other one. There we go, wonderful. So there we go, now we've got this one for a little bit more benefit there. And this extra thing right here, what we can do is, since I don't need it, you can actually recycle it, which will give you a chance to get some resources. So I've got a 50% chance to get 2 alloy. I ended up getting nothing. So you can see it was a basically flip of the coin, and I ended up getting nothing from recycling that, unfortunately. You can craft items, so we've got the items that I currently have in my inventory: health injection kit, nail gun ammo, explosive traps, etc, etc, etc. But then if we go to the crafting here, we're able to make, if I want some more injections or ammunition, I can just do that here. It's gonna cost me a little serum, and we've got a few different choices here. We can go with health injection pack or fluid injection pack. Why don't we go with health injection pack here? So I'm gonna craft one of those. It'll use up some of my serum, and there you go. You can see it used it up, and now I've got an extra one of those in my inventory, just like that. And then lastly here, we've got all these components, and these are essentially just the things that I've collected off of the bodies and within the environment as well. So that is the inventory and crafting system. We've also got this character portion here. You can get some, read about some of his attributes, the different things between his combat effectiveness, his renegade, and his technomancy. So this is sort of like combat, melee fighter, renegade, stealthish sort of healing and explosives, and then technomancy is the magey abilities. And these are actually ones that I just unlocked at the beginning of this chapter, which is where I started this video off. So I've just unlocked the part of combat that allows me to use these technomancy abilities, which are sort of like this electricity magic, if you will, casting magic spells, shock waves, shields, things like that. Now also there are all these little things here. You get points as you level up, and you can use those points to get certain benefits. So far, I've purchased extra experience from defeating enemies. I've purchased up to 30% of that. I can get things like Snooper, chance to loot enemies, plus 20%, so give me a better chance to find items. And you unlock the ability to get these after you reach certain things. So it's sort of like an achievement system that also lets you purchase additional benefits. And then over here in the skill tree, you're going to see that I've focused mainly in combat. I've got 2 points here, but I've focused mainly in combat, getting things like extra physical reduction, less damage received while rolling for evasion, my guard break, which is the knockback that I do with F. It can give me extra damage, area of effect, even a chance to stun now. Extra damage from armed attacks, which are just my basic melee attacks, and also extra critical chance. Now, We can check out the Technomancy tree here, so I can get additional shield absorb, I can get plus maximum health, I can get plus damage, 50% damage, so all sorts of different things, and then here is the Renegade tree. So what I've unlocked so far is all from the 3 hours of playtime that I've had so far, and that just shows you how much percentage-wise I've unlocked. Less than a third, because I've only unlocked, I don't know, there's three, you can unlock 3 points per each one of these skills, so I've only unlocked about, I don't know, maybe 60% of these here just within the just within combat, and you can see there's all still those other options there as well. War log right over here, this is just a log of things that have occurred in the game for you so far, diary, different fight mechanics, characters that you've encountered, quest and side quest. I skipped most of the side quest in those first 3 hours. I did a few of them though, and then there's a map. Holy crap, I'm sorry that took so long, but there really is a fair amount of stuff to go through, so c'est la vie, huh? I guess it's good for anyone who really wanted details about this game. I will try to deliver those to you. So, I have to be honest, I was terribly put off at the start of this game. I'm going to climb up here real quick just to see if there's anything to scavenge on the other side. I was terribly put off at the start of this game just because the dialogue was so terrible. I mean, they were not even just offensive, although it was offensive at time, but just the voice acting just seemed really bad and shoddy at times, and not only just the things that they were saying, but the way that it was being said. And I've had lines repeated, but it wasn't supposed to be that way. It was kind of like a bug. Basically, I had someone say the same line 3 times in a row, and it wasn't meant to be that way. The subtitles didn't indicate that. It was just a well, it was just a bug, like I said. Now, at any time as you go throughout the story, you can talk to Temperance, or Innocence, sorry.
Yes.
So I can be, hey, what's up? You got a minute to talk?
I have a few questions to ask you, if it's okay.
Alright, so let's ask him if he knows the Shadow Layer well. The Shadow Layer is where we currently are.
You know Shadow Lair well?
Well, especially my neighborhood. I never went outside it too much, especially downtown. Apart from for a few ceremonies.
Okay, let's see here. Need to wise up then.
If you don't want to stay a good little mama's boy, I'll have to take you around to see the rest of the town. The slums, for example.
Thanks, I'd like that. While we're on the subject, you know that girl in Camp 19?
Mary, the Technomancer?
Yeah, I thought about it, and I'm pretty sure I saw her downtown one day, during a ceremony.
Odd. And interesting.
So, Mary
Come on, let's go.
was technically like the partner of the Technomancer who was running the prison camp that we just broke out from, and I killed him. At the end of that chapter, she said that she's vowing vengeance on us, so I'm guessing a big part of the upcoming story will be her chasing us down for killing her partner, although she called him Master. I don't know if that was just some weird relationship or if she was actually... She just kind of looks a little robotic, so I'm not entirely sure how that works. I also don't know too much about the Technomancers other than they've got the ability to wield electrical power, which this guy here, Roy, your main character, he's supposed to be one of those. Okay, so we gotta head up there to the left. Let's see if there's
still here.
anything over
We're
here.
Almost there anyway. The store is just a little farther on the left.
Now, you can't interact with everyone, but there's a handful of people within each environment that you can interact with, and sometimes you'll walk up to people and they'll just be exchanging in dialogue back and forth, although that is not that fluent of an occurrence compared to, say, like an Elder Scrolls game where there's constant dialogue and all the NPCs. Not nearly that much in this game. And uh-oh. Is that his house that's destroyed? Could be. He's not doing so well. Oh, he's pissed. Calm down, Innocence. We're alright here. What happened,
Innocence, I'm sorry. I don't know what happened, but we gotta go. Pretty obvious we're not safe here, especially if they're watching the house. Come on.
Roy. My parents are dead, aren't they?
Alright, let's see here. Let's try to be nice to him. Think it's the wrong street?
Unless we got the wrong address. Could be. Now we gotta get going if we don't want to end up like them.
No, that was it. Would have liked to have, but anyway. You're right, let's get out of here.
And here we go.
You there! You're under arrest! Stop right there!
How are we gonna handle this, Roy? All right, now, something that's really bothered me, I'm playing on the medium setting. There are 2 difficulty settings above this one. And I'll tell you what bothers me here. It's that even on this medium setting, Innocence dies very easily. He is completely useless in combat, basically. I mean, he does almost nothing beneficial, which really, really bugs me. Because I would expect that maybe on the harder difficulties, but on this medium difficulty, for him to be so useless, that makes me wonder how awful he would be in an actual difficult situation. All right, now I'm gonna need another heal up here. I mean, you saw how quickly he died there, right? Just a little ridiculous if you ask me, but. All right, I could have dodged that bullet, but I didn't move out of the way in time. And I wanna see if I can blind these guys with sand. That guy's wearing a mask, so I'm guessing that's why I can't blind him. But we're gonna keep kind of rolling around here. Okay. I don't have enough energy or magic or whatever it's called to be able to... There we go, knocked him down before he could... No! I want to take out this guy first. I want to see if I can blind that guy because his mask is up. Yes, I can. So notice he's going to be staggering there for a minute. He can't see, so I could just sort of walk up. Oh boy, he can see. He could see enough to finish me off. What a load of garbage. That is hilarious. All right, well, c'est la vie, I guess. Luckily, we can skip through this dialogue pretty quickly here.
Still here. We're almost there anyway.
So we'll do that and get back into combat. There we go. Just like that, and here we are. All right, so my useless friend here. You know what I can do here? Let me try putting him in defensive mode. Maybe that will help him a little bit, so that he doesn't die so much, doesn't die so quickly. And I'd like to let's try a shockwave here. Oh, it only works on one guy. That seems kind of silly. You'd imagine. There we go. Wonderful. And we're doing much better this time around here. I think now that he's in defensive stance, you know, maybe that's the trick. Maybe I should put him in defensive stance every fight because he seems to be living longer than usual here. And we are going to try to get that guy here. And that guy is done for too. Well, that was a much better engagement there. Finish this guy off just like that, and there we go. Me and Innocence, we're an all right team. All right, so we'll just go ahead and loot all these guys. At first I was really annoyed with this inventory system, or rather this item added system, because I always kept moving to click OK. But I found if you just right click, it will drop that, and you still get the items. It doesn't get rid of them. So you don't have to click OK every time. I know it sounds silly, but it just makes this exchange a little bit faster than it would be otherwise. Okay, and our goal now is to head over here this way, so we will do just that. Climb up here. And now these little mini cutscenes, you can skip those as well, just by hitting the right mouse button, which makes that a little less monotonous. And our goal is to get there to the back room, back home, all the way over there. So there's a few side streets, so why don't we just venture throughout the side streets and see what we see. Now this is pretty much how it was set up within the first 3 hours as well. Just these little compartmentalized areas. I haven't experienced any big, you know, expansive open outdoor areas at all. Although maybe that's something that comes later in the game, but it hasn't been here so far. I'm going to now do a sneak attack. You actually move into sneak mode by hitting X, which allows you to get up right behind someone and get a few shots off before he does anything else. And we also got a dog here. Dogs can be dangerous because you can't hit them from the front. And we're gonna try to do this here. I really wish I've had an area of effect thing. The little knockback has got an AOE to it, so that could be what I use for that, I guess. And why don't I blind this guy, the guy with the visor pulled up, and then move over here to help him a little bit, and we can. Oh no! Oh, I just tried to use my electric abilities, but oh, I don't have. Oh, it just said I didn't have a target. I'm sorry. thought it said I didn't have enough power or something. No, watch out. There it is, wonderful. There's a little ramp up time on your electricity, so you do have to be careful. And we're gonna heal up again, which takes a moment, although there is a skill tree ability that allows you to do that instantly pretty much, which would be beneficial, I would assume. There we go, and I can electrocute that guy head on, and he's gonna charge us. We can't hit him from the front, so I will do a little dodge roll here, and then get a few shots from behind, just like that, and excellent. Now you recharge health and energy out of combat, so as long as you make it through alive, then you'll be a-okay. You don't have to find health packs or anything like that in this game. It's just something that will automatically refill for you. Now this game doesn't look good at all. In fact, it looks pretty awful visually, texture-wise, and the overall environment is just really, it's really, I don't know, just bleh. It just looks bleh, basically. But I've still found that I've had fun in these first 3 hours. I think that while the dialogue has been relatively terrible throughout, the overall story has been engaging to me. It's been something that, I think I just said this earlier in the video, but it's been something that I've continuously been like, I want to see the next part. I want to see where this is going. This is somewhat interesting to me. Now, that of course is going to vary from person to person, but that with the fact that the combat is pretty solid, it's kept me playing this game. It's kept me interested for the first 3 hours here. Now, I've spoken to a few people who have played through multiple times, and they've sort of shared that opinion of the game, that, you know, bad dialogue, some really rough edges, but a fairly interesting game nonetheless, and this is also a moderately priced title. It's a $20 game. This isn't anything that cost a ton of money, so something to keep in mind as well. This is a 20-hour RPG experience with decent combat and an alright story so far for 20 bucks. Alright, let's see here. He saw us, and then his friends were alerted as well. Well, that's a bummer. Alright, so let me go ahead and activate my shield here. And then we go like that. Hit him from behind, and that was followed up with a stun there, wonderfully enough, so I can get a few shots, and then we finish him off. That was excellent. How is Temperance doing? Or, I keep calling him Temperance. His name is Innocence. Both these names incredibly stupid. Virtue names. What an awful idea. And you know what? I think I found the solution to my complaint from earlier. It really appears that putting him in defensive stance is the way to go. Because every other battle I've ever had with him, he has gotten knocked down almost instantly. But the past few battles that I've had him in defensive stance, he's actually held his own. So perfect. Absolutely perfect. Get some more items here. No items found. What a crock of garbage. Okay, so we could head this way, but the story is in this direction. You know, I typically would head down this way just to get. I would typically head down this way just to pick up any extra scavenge things, but for the sake of this video, I'd like to push the story forward a little bit here. See if we can get to anything else more interesting than what we've had so far. The initial area for the prisoner of war camp was pretty cool because we did all sorts of things. We staged a sabotage. There was this mutant race that were essentially being used as slaves to do work, and they were terribly mistreated. And we basically got them to rise up in rebellion, which allowed us to escape that prison camp. Now, for fair warning, I did say at the start of this video that there would be spoilers for the sake of... Or at least I planned to say that. I don't remember if I actually did. But yes, plenty of spoilers, and I think that's really unavoidable in such a story-driven game without just showing you the very start of the video, the very start of the game. And I didn't want to just show the very start because the game really, the combat doesn't get interesting until, I don't know, well, I guess it's alright, but you have a lot more options at this point, so it's a lot more interesting than it was prior to this. Okay. Watch out. There we go. Now, how about we use our gun a little bit here? Use our gun on this guy. So you're gonna notice I've been going pretty free form for the past few battles without locking on, which you can safely do. It works. So. Nope. You get out of here. I gotcha. I almost prefer it, to be honest with you. I almost prefer it to locking on, which is why I've been doing it. And we've leveled up, so I'll get to show you some of that. Nope. You back up here, buddy. There you go. Wonderful. All right, so we have leveled up, so let me show you spending some of my points. I've actually got 4 points to spend here. And instead of diving further into combat, I'd actually like to spend some points here on the technomancy. So what do we got here? Plus 50% damage from deep impact. We can also get maximum health here. Regeneration per second. That sounds really good, actually. Let's go ahead and spend a few points in this right here, which we will go upgrade it. You can do it up to 3 times. And then I'd also like to get a point here into deep impact. Wonderful. Yeah, so I'm probably going to focus on these 2 trees, the combat and the technomancy. However, it could be entirely possible that as you continue to level through the game, you may eventually be able to go into all 3 of them. But for now, those are the ones that I really want to put my effort in. And I'm going to keep on moving. I think I'd like to just go to the next major story beat, whatever it is, and then we'll probably cut the video there. I feel like you guys have a pretty good idea so far, based on what you've seen, of what this game is about. Got a bunch of dialogue and some combat mixed in there as well. And once again, the combat is pretty darn interesting, in my humble opinion. Move it, guys. You're under attack. There you go. Use your crazy powers. Gotta love it.
Are you Tenacity, the bounty hunter?
That's me.
I have a contract for you. A man we want to find.
I consider it done. What's his name?
His name's Temperance, but he calls us Overroy. He refuses to join us. He's a renegade. You must be careful, it's said that he's armed.
Armed? You think I usually go after Boy Scouts? Anyway, I know this Roy. I didn't know he was a renegade. We even worked together back in the day. Tough guy. I mean, it's gonna cost you.
Name your price. We can't let this man walk free. And if he dies, we'll only be grateful.
All right, I'll be back with his body in a bit. Now get out of here. Your stench is pissing my dog off.
Those are dogs, by the way. Those beast-looking things. Dogs on Mars. How do you don't know what dogs on Mars look like? Maybe that's normal. All right. Well, I think this is a good point to wrap up the video.
I think they could follow us. You all right?
Not very good. I'd like to understand what happened. There must be somebody, maybe a group, that can help me find out about...
I'm really sorry, kid.
All right, let's see.
I know what you're going through and why you need answers, but my priority is for us to survive, too. We gotta find a place to hide out. I had somewhere not far from here back in the day, so let's go see if it's still there.
You're probably right, but I feel so empty. And I'm so full of anger.
I understand, I promise. We'll go find Charity after. If anyone knows anything about a rebel or resistance movement, it's her.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Not just for that. You saved my life again.
Forget it. Come on, let's go.
All right. Who needs to face each other when they talk anyways? That's not necessary. All right, well, I think you guys have a pretty good idea at this point what this game's all about. It's not bad. It really isn't that bad, which I fully expected to be. In my first 30 minutes, I thought this is gonna be terrible, but then I kept playing, and then I said, hey, this combat's kind of fun. It's kind of engaging, actually. Dynamic, could be a word that you use for it. That's the word that the developer uses for it. I don't know if you would use that, but it could be a word you use. So yeah, why don't we go ahead and just wrap up the video. We've got things like merchants we can go to purchase things. There's nothing special there, nothing you haven't seen in other RPGs. And then we've also got, you can see I can bring up the captions here, which will show you. There's Roy plus your companion, people of interest in the nearby area, merchants, and then their primary and secondary objectives. And these are just sort of different areas. But the game's been segmented just like you've seen so far, sort of moving from space to space, engaging in dialogue, engaging in combat. Maybe these guys will be talking to each other. Nope, but I can take some stuff from over here. I kind of wish that there was more world interaction, or rather at least NPC interaction amongst each other, because the world feels kind of bleak and empty without it. Like walking up to these guys, and you can see they're clearly engaging in a conversation, but there's nothing that we can actually overhear. So it feels a little lacking in sort of the world immersion portion of it when it comes to it feeling alive, because we've got all these characters clearly engaging with each other, but nothing that we can hear, as if, what, we can only hear people that we're directly talking to in our party. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. Game is definitely lacking in areas. Don't try to think that I'm giving this game a pass and saying it's the best RPG ever. But what I will say is that, once again, repeat myself here, the story's enticed me so far, as terrible as the dialogue can be at times, and the combat's pretty fun as well. So for 20 bucks, if those two things are enough for you, for an RPG that's 20 hours in length, hey, maybe give it a look, you know? And yeah, with that, why don't we wrap up this video? Once again, this has been Force checking out Mars War Logs. Let me just run over some of the bullet points here of this game. 20 hours of gameplay from the main storyline. There are 2 possible main storylines with multiple endings, and the decisions that you make at the end of the second chapter are what determine sort of which path you go along. A dynamic combat system that really focuses on tactical skill and reflexes, high level of character specialization amongst the skill trees, and your attitude and dialogue along with your choices and decisions will influence your adventure. Just so you guys know, all of those bullet points I just read are from the developer, just basically what they say about this game. And that is that. Force checking out Mars War Logs. The game's alright. Far from amazing. Feels a little dead. Crappy dialogue. But combat and overall story seems passable for 20 bucks. Thanks so much for watching, guys. If you like the content, please subscribe. And as always, keep watching and keep owning. Let's go see about this lady here. What's her name? Oh, this is a dude. A dude named Tranquility.
Oh, shit. What's wrong?
This city's a fucking nightmare now. You can't go 3 feet without a patrol stopping you. There's a checkpoint up ahead. They're stopping everybody. And I would just get my papers stolen.
There any way around the checkpoint?
Not to where I'm going. There's always a way to get replacement papers, of course. But the guy who does them is kind of hard to find, you know? The authorities are on his ass big time.
The war's over, so why check everyone?
Well, I guess it's because of politics. I probably shouldn't say this to someone I don't know, but the Technomancers didn't make too many friends when they took out the militia. Now there's a resistance. Guys against the authorities. That's why we got all these checkpoints. That and because it seems there's some guy in town who's on the run. I even heard that the Technomancers hired a bounty hunter to track him down, but, well, you know. Anyway, none of it's good for business.
Roy? But that's...